Hey TV fans, Bored now back with you. On this video I will be talking about The Diplomat, Season 1, Episode 3. The episode is called Lambs in the Dark. Full spoilers from the start of the review as always. So this one centres around the President's flying visit to London and how Katie is desperately trying to get him to reconsider his approach when it comes to the whole situation with Iran, is trying to convince him that she knows for a fact that Iran isn't involved in the attacks and that it's not a good look for him politically to be going into business with the British and to encourage them when it comes to going on the aggressive assault. So she has to try and talk him into the idea that Iran aren't involved and to take a different tack to sort of draw back the support for now on. So you get lots of negotiating back and forth with her and the various sides. So Hal even tries to appease the president as well. He even tries to put in a word for Katie, which doesn't exactly work. So first of all, the two sides are planning the visual look of this big meeting between the two leaders. And we just see how all this stuff is so neatly micromanaged and just how worried Katie is about how this meeting is going to look. So again, her sense of detail is really fine-tuned because she's insisting then they don't make a big deal, then it's not a big banquet. They've got all these fine glasses and cutlery that are out, which when she talks to the foreign secretary, she's able to talk him into a more intimate setting for the meeting. So they have to put away the tablecloths and all the fancy cutlery, as I said. So it's just the way Katie wants the visual of their meeting to play, and she has to talk to the various sides, and she comes up with an idea then the two leaders should just meet in private, just talk alone together, and almost, which leads to them being very powy and just ribbing each other and reminiscing about certain figures, a really sort of boys type of thing. But Catherine has this idea that things might go a bit smoother and they might feel a bit more relaxed and it might look a bit better, that if they're just alone without staff. So she's managed to get that done. One of the best visuals of the episode, which really goes to the themes of this series, is a scene where you've got three women on a porch, porch, whatever you want to say, but just standing to the side. And so you've got Catherine, you've got Billy and Elder as well, and they're all discussing business and strategy. And at the same time, you've got almost this very masculine boys club with the president and with the prime minister, where they're just going over history. And I just love some of the lines back and forth, the guy they've got playing the president. I always forget the actor's name. I know him out of Short Circuit too, and he's been in a lot of comedies, and he's a really funny guy. He was in This Is Spinal Tap as well. That's probably the big thing that people know him from. But because he's so good at comic timing, he just brings this sort of brash, sharp tone to the president. When the prime minister is says, I met George such and such, and it's oh, he's a wanker. it's so good. But one of the big developments in the episode for the characters, which I enjoyed, was the stuff with Alda and with Catherine, because Alda gets wind of Catherine's private contact with her contact in Iran, of all affairs, and she finds this out is because there's a message that gets set off to MI5, at the moment where something like this happens, and it makes them question what's going on and start asking questions to Elder. So Elder goes to Catherine and says, I know what's going on, and she sort of paints the situation to her, then this isn't great, it doesn't look good on me. And Catherine says, I was trying to tell you this yesterday about how I was trying to tell you he was the contact and he was the one who contacted the Irans. And this is how it all started. And it's a great scene because, like, Elder backs her up. She's like, oh, yeah, you were trying to tell me that. I'm sorry. So she's really humble. It's quite the turnaround, but it's one of the things I like about the episode the most is then you do have this very traditional boys' club, like just these two leaders who don't seem to be taking things too seriously. And yet they're relying on these hard-working, ambitious women to, like, sort out the problems and come up with solutions. So the sort of bond that comes with Elder and Catherine, where they put their animosity aside and decide to work together, because it really does show you that this probably, like, the female script writing here, because I think it sort of shows you that a lot of times women are less ego driven than men, and like if it comes to getting the best results and everything for the team, they will sort of put their animosity aside, their previous animosity. And that's what we see, because in the next scene, Elder goes in and really kind of digs into Hal, and she makes him write down the details of his contact, the person he speaks to. So she has a change of heart. The other big thing in the episode is then you've got Billy trying to convince Catherine to be the vice president, trying to sell the job to her, because Catherine, as soon as she hears about them putting her on the shortlist, she's not interested. She doesn't want it. So this is a fascinating little drama which is going to play out, where they're going to try and talk her into it. And I wonder, because I'm not sure yet if this is going to be more than one season or just one season. It might be tough to tie Keri Russell down to more than one season, but not impossible. And she is a producer on this, so it's probably something she has put a fair bit of time into. So I just wonder if maybe that could be a thing where by the end of the season they talk her into being VP, and that could be a season 2 maybe with her taking on the role. But in this, Billy is trying to talk her into it, and Catherine gets her to be straight with her. She gets her to admit then the reason we want you is because you're a safe pair of hands, because you're not really a threat to the president himself. Like they start using this different language, like it's like you're a bitch, but you're not too much of a bitch. Like you're pretty, but you're not too pretty. Pretty disrespectful, that, considering it's Keri Russell, but I can see what she means, and that's the line. Then we want you because you're a safe pair of hands, because the president doesn't see you as a threat. He doesn't see you as someone who's going to start campaigning for his job, but you are a good campaigner, which will help you and help the president. And she also does sell it as you would actually be really good as the job. And she starts saying about how a lot of times people are just given the role because of personality, because of like different like superficial aspects. Wouldn't it be wonderful for someone to actually get it because they're good at it? And I think you can see by the end of the episode then Catherine is considering it, although it is only a little bit of like curiosity. She's still pretty firm in not wanting to take it, and she, like, when they set off, when the president sets off and Catherine Billy goes with him, like there's sort of a look back, like a cheeky little smile from Billy, and Billy's another fun character in this. Like I think that actress is doing a good job in the role, and I quite enjoy her interactions with Catherine. The other big thing is then Catherine finds out about how actually knowing about the VP thing, her name being on the shortlist for like a month, and she absolutely unloads on him. It's one of the more farcical moments where she just lets rip, which you can kind of understand in the drama. You can see how all this stuff going on and just all these frustrations piling up, especially when it's with her husband. But it is one of the more over-the-top scenes where she unloads on him. She kicks his ass, literally. She screams a lot. And she says, I just want out of this marriage. But the thing that sets her off is that he admits then when he cried, when he broke down, when she said she wanted a divorce, and then she gets him to admit that even though he was crying and he agreed to it, like even then he wasn't sold on this is the end for them. He was still thinking they would get back together. So she sees that as, okay, you're playing me. This is all a strategy. And yeah, that's when she basically kicks his ass. And Keri Russell, as anyone who's seen The Americans will know, can be one scary woman. So that's what we see, and ultimately in the episode, when they dust themselves down and come back, Catherine does eventually convince the president then he's got to cool off and he's got to withdraw his strategy to support the British in this case. And it's a good scene again because she does it by proving that she's good at her job, proving then she knows what she's talking about, because she mentions this contact they have with Iran, and she talks about how, which is something Hal has already said, but like they get across then Iran put themselves on the line to prove that it wasn't them. But Catherine makes a strong political case then we don't want to lose this diplomatic connection we have with Iran over nothing. Like she says, the whole thing with this bomb and the boat, it's not the straw that breaks the camel's back. And she makes a very good point about if you send like American soldiers in and two of them get killed, then we're suddenly knee deep and it becomes a war. So, and that's a very strong point, that if you're going to end up going to war, it's got to be over something much bigger than this. And she's definitely right. And once again, she makes a good case about not breaking diplomatic ties over this. And she talks him into it. And the other thing is she's threatening to quit once again, which, because this is episode 3, we're pretty confident that's not going to happen. But then when he talks her around, or when she talks him around, I should say, he says no, he doesn't accept her resignation. And once again, it's just a little bit of sign of this sort of arrogant, like, male president taking his right-hand woman for granted, or one of them anyway. It's like, stop saying you're going to quit. It's not very appealing. And so she's staying on, but she's talked him into like backtracking. So yeah, I thought there was some good stuff in this episode with some of the politics, and once again how Catherine does get certain people on side and is able to change certain things. It definitely shows her as being good with her job, and I'm not sure I quite like it as much as episode 2, but it was another strong episode, very watchable again. So that's episode 3 of The Diplomat. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.